Hi! This is going to be my crash course in Greek mythology video that I'm making for my GURPS campaign that I'm going to be GMing for in the spring. If you don't know what GURPS is, I would suggest that you either just shrug it off because it won't really make much of a difference because this is mostly going to be focused on the Greek mythology aspect of that, or if you're really dying to know what GURPS is, I have already made a video that is about what GURPS is. It's a role-playing game that's a short and easy way of describing it. Greek mythology is kind of one of those, because it's very much rooted in legend, where not everyone is going to have the same story. So as I'm going along, you might, be like, oh, that's not what I heard. But for the purposes of my campaign, this is going to be the way that I'm telling the story for my players. So this is what we're going to be sticking with. So this is going to be a quick overview of the origin of the gods and the roles of each of the Greek gods in the pantheon. So in the beginning, you've got the god of the sky, Uranus, and the goddess of the earth, Gaia. You don't really see them portrayed as in human form like you do the other Greek gods because they're so old and ancient. They're more just like entities, and they give birth to the Titans. And you've got 12 Titans, 6 men and 6 women, and there's quite a bunch of them, and they're kind of minorly important, but really the most important one is Cronus, who is the oldest. So he marries a Titaness named Rhea, who is his sister, and Gaia tells him that he is destined to overthrow his father, and so eventually he does that. After Cronus has taken over his father, Gaia prophesies again, this is kind of a pattern, that Cronus is also going to be overthrown by one of his children. So every single time he has a kid, he takes it and he swallows it. He swallows them whole, by the way. It's not like he chews them. Eventually, Rhea kind of is like, well, this isn't really working out very well for me and my children, so she decides to trick Cronus into eating a stone wrapped up like a baby instead of the baby, and so that baby is Zeus. She feeds Cronus this stone, and so Cronus throws all of the kids up, and they're all perfectly okay. So then Zeus, as the survivor, gets made the king over all his siblings, and he throws the Titans into the pit of Tartarus. And here's a list of where we're going to be going eventually. These are the big 12 gods and goddesses who live on Olympus. And you'll notice that on that list, there are a few gods and goddesses that are not actually part of the Big 12. For example, Hestia, who is the sister of Zeus and goddess of the hearth, she gives up her throne to Dionysus when he's born because he's a full-fledged god, but there wasn't an extra throne. So she decides, let's not have any drama, so she decides that she'll just give up her throne and sit at the hearth in the center of Olympus. Hades is actually not part of the 12 gods of Olympus because he lives in the underworld and doesn't really come up to Olympus very much. And then you've got Persephone, who's the daughter of Demeter and Zeus, which actually would make her a full-fledged goddess, but she gets kidnapped when she's like 13, 15, whatever, and marries Hades. So because she's so young when that happens, she never gets to claim a throne. And she lives in the underworld, and people who live in the underworld don't get thrones on Olympus, apparently. So we've got the big guy, Zeus, and he is married to Hera. He has 2 children with Hera, and I'm pretty sure there's only 2. One of them is Ares, the god of war, and one of them is Hephaestus, who is the god of blacksmiths. He is the king of the gods, and he has control over weather, especially like clouds, rain, and thunder, lightning. He's a great shapeshifter. You see a lot of him coming down to earth as a sunbeam, as a cow, as a swan, as, all sorts of different kinds of animals, usually to impregnate women. As mentioned, he has a huge succession of lovers. Basically, the way it works is that if you are a daughter or son of Zeus and a god or titaness, you get to be a full-fledged god or goddess. And I'm pretty sure that if you're a god and a goddess and the god is not Zeus, then it's kind of up in the air as to whether or not you'll be a full-fledged goddess or not. You could or you couldn't, depending on the circumstances. Next up, we've got Hera, who is the queen of the gods. Hera's symbols are the cow and the peacock. She is the patroness of marriage and responsible for enforcing marriage vows. No surprise there. She often gets pretty hostile towards Zeus's lovers and their children. Sometimes the children have to fight monsters. Next, Poseidon is the lord of the seas and of earthquakes. His symbols include horse, bull, dolphin, and trident, which is his weapon. Obviously he's got the power to summon sea serpents, and anything water related is pretty much his domain. So just like Hades, he doesn't usually come to Olympus, so it's kind of interesting that he even has a seat on Olympus. He's got this palace in the Aegean Sea that he tends to spend his time with. So he's a stern god who can sometimes be terrible when he's angry, like in the Odyssey when Odysseus blinds his son Polyphemus. Next we've got Demeter, who is probably one of the hardest goddesses to actually find any interesting information on. She's the goddess of the harvest, and she's the mother of Persephone through Zeus. Really, her main myth is the myth about her daughter being taken, about how she was so sad that she wandered the earth and nothing grew until her daughter was returned to her. That's almost the only myth that she's really famous for. We've now got Hades, who is the god of the underworld, of course. The underworld is very vast and there's a lot of things to talk about with the underworld, but I don't really want to go into those right now. So he has a helm of darkness, which makes him invisible if he needs it. This is something you see in a lot of movies, that Hades is always the evil guy, but really he's not this like evil scheming character who's trying to always like take power from Zeus. He does care about keeping the souls that he has trapped down in the underworld. He obviously cares about keeping them down there, but it's not like he is like, oh, I just want to kill the world, you know, so that everyone is in my realm. He's really not like that at all.